So, welcome to our design house, Kasper.
Thank you.
And you had the time to have a look at our second floor and also the first floor. So, what do you think about the design house and our shop-in-shop concept?
I was really stunned. I was really amazed by of course, the space, the big space, and also the freshness. It's very fresh to come and see this shop. I have been in many shops around in Europe and Asia, and this is something special. I think I haven't had the feeling that you had this very big range of brands and range of products, lighting, but also furniture, and the fact that it's actually based on internet shop. I think it's quite impressive. It's a futuristic feeling I get being here.
So you personally, are you more into online shopping, or are you prefer going to a shop and really experience the products?
I would say I'm the type, the old type, the type that goes and want to see what I get, because as a designer, of course, you know a lot about how things are manufactured, and you know about qualities, and you really have to get close to things to feel how the quality is and which material. Is it polypropylene? Is it PP? Is it nylon? What is it? So for me, it's very important to be close. But again, if you have brands like Fritz Hansen and Casina and so on, you have maybe seen these things hundreds of times, and then you're sure about that this is okay. So then you just buy it. But I think still I think some people will always want to touch and sit, and furniture, of course, is a lot about sitting and using it physically. It's not like a stereo. It's not like a computer that you know will work. I mean, all computers are the same. I mean, they are not made for bigger hands, smaller hands. It's just the same. So, and furniture is almost like clothing in that sense.
As you mentioned, you are the more old-fashioned type. What do you think? What is the future of interior design or design in general? What is your personal vision about design? My personal vision, let me call it my personal hope for design in the future, would be that we as designers, but also the manufacturers, are linked together much more than we are now. Because I really think that we designers on our own can do nothing without the manufacturer, and vice versa. The manufacturer can do nothing without the designer. And at the moment, I think there's still two parties that should meet much more often and make some sparks in the air, because it's only when you meet and talk about your different areas that a new spark will come out of it, and a new product will see the daylight. So I've read that when we're talking about relevance, and you are talking about relevance when you are talking about your design very often. So I've read that you never design a product or a chair or a table by gut instinct, or by an impulse. So can you explain this a little bit? Yes. I think one quote that I really like is the Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh. He said that great things are not done by impulse, but by a lot of small things brought together. And I think this is so true about what we do as designers, and maybe for him also as kind of artist. And I think it's very true for designers. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of normal work. It's not about waking up in the morning and have a great idea. Because if you wait for that, if you wait for the inspiration, or what you would call it,
something coming from above, I think you really will miss out on doing anything, because it won't come, and I don't believe in it. I think you should forget all about it and get into the work, find out who needs this, and find out how to make a product that are good in use, that we are missing on this earth, and then make it together with your manufacturer.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your work-life process, or how a product is developed? What is your inspiration? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Well, I don't get inspiration. I actually, my partner and I, we often talk about that we take a step back. Instead of being inspired, we go a step back. We used to say we take our little helicopter and go up in the air and try to see everything. We start in the beginning. We start gathering all the informations that will have an effect, have an influence on the product, and we sort of try to make a hierarchic order of that. What is most important and what is next, and so on. And actually, only in the very last end of the time of the process, we actually make the shape or the form and the color and the material. Because if you do that in the first stages, you will soon discover, or quite sure you will discover, that you might have lost out on a very important issue, such as sitting for a chair, such as heating up water for a cooker. And I think you have to have all the functions, and you have all the relevant thoughts about the thing before you can give any shape to it.
So, do you have a mood board or anything like that where you collect impressions or inspirational things?
We have a lot of boards in the studio where we collect all the things that are relevant to the work we do, and also the things that we like, of course. But most of all, we use that 3D board, as we call them, to refer when we are talking about a material. We are talking about cast iron, we are talking about steam bent wood. We can just pick it down and we can try it out, and we can cut in it, and we can get the physical aspects right on the drawing board, and we can talk about that, so we can get further on and we can take some decisions.
So one of your last projects was the nap chair.
Yes.
And the name stands for normal, active and passive. So could you just, to our viewers, explain this idea behind the nap chair?
Yes. The brief came from Fritz Hansen. Fritz Hansen needed a new lightweight stacking chair, which is one of Fritz Hansen's, you can say, finest product groups. Fritz Hansen is very known for the Series 7 chair from Arne Jacobsen, and he did a lot of other chairs, such as the Grand Prix chair, but also Paul Kjærhund did a lot of nice chairs. So when Fritz Hansen are asking you about making a chair, of course you are listening, and the brief was to make a new. They almost call it the new weapon, because in these times you can say that the price level on a normal regular good chair is actually dropping a bit. So Fritz Hansen needed a new chair there, and I took my own little brief, which is all about the use of a chair. How do we use a chair? What is a chair for? So every time we start to design new objects, we wipe the board clean, just to be sure that we have everything in order from the beginning and down to the end. So the nap chair for me was very much about sitting, because as the first chair I did, the ice chair, there was a lot of criteria regarding indoor and outdoor use. So the nap chair was more simple in the brief, and I really wanted to focus on making a shell chair that was you can say ergonomic, very, very pleasant, so you could sit in a lot of different ways. I think sitting is about changing your positions. You're not sitting like this all the time. You are moving back and leaning back, and so the first way I think I talk about sitting is the normal way, and you sit straight up and down. And in this position, I think often with shell constructions, it's hard to get your body into the chair. You are sort of pushed out from the beginning. So that's why I emphasized to make this good space for the bottom. And the next is when you're seated actively, you sit like this and you're working or you're eating. I think it's important that the chair is very soft, has a very good area for sitting. And the last one is the passive. After a meal, you tend to relax, or in a very boring meeting, it's nice to sit like this. And then I think it's important that the chair is supporting all this. So even how you sit in a nice way. And in this position also, you tend to slide out of the chair. So that's why you see all the small ripples in the surface that maybe also can make a better climate in the chair.
One quote I read, and I hope it's correct, is that you said you just would like to design one perfect chair once in your life. So would you say that the nap chair is the ultimate perfect chair because it fulfills all the requirements of the customers and the people, or?
Also, you mean the nap chair should be the last chair?
No, hopefully not. But I don't know.
Actually, I think that every time you do a product, I think you should do it as it was your last, as it was the dot of your working life, because then I think you are maybe more aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it and for who you are doing it. And also I think you will use all your senses and all your knowledge to make a very good product. And especially maybe when we talk about chairs, because there are made a lot of chairs in this world. I think it's very important that we as designers and also manufacturers are really doing a good job, because otherwise you could easily say that there was enough chairs in this world. But that goes for all products. I mean, you should always, do less but make it better. And I think this is the new way of thinking, at least in my view, that we should all maybe take down the amount of stuff and then try to focus on fewer good items instead of just throwing a lot of pieces out on the market.
Yeah. So one last question was what was your personal highlights during your career? Or I've read that you have developed the furniture for the UN chamber.
Yes, the Danish chamber, the Fenjul room.
Yeah.
Is it called?
So what was this kind of a highlight of your career, or?
Yeah, I would say so. Actually, with my partner Thomas Siegsgaard, who's an architect, we have been partners now for 10 years, and I think very few people know that. So now maybe we have the chance of putting our common company on the design map. You can say so. So I feel that we have got a lot of good press and I've got a lot of good attention on this winning. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.